Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Make Our World Your Runway. As you know, this show not only interviews people from the pageant industry, but from the business, modeling, entertainment, and we've even done some beauty tips that we have added to our show as well. We have an amazing guest, and I truly mean an amazing guest this week. When I tell you about her bio and I interview her, you're going to be very surprised of the things that she's accomplished, and she is absolutely gorgeous. But as always, we do have a few announcements that we would like to make. So let me start with that. And we like to tell all our listeners, remember to subscribe to the Global Trade Chamber YouTube channel so that you can view all the shows from Make Our World Your Runway and also Success Stories. And I highly recommend tuning in to Success Stories, which is produced by the Global Trade Chamber, highlighting stories from some of the most amazing women in the world of business and community service. And once again, Volume 2 of the 100 Most Successful Women in Business is now available on Amazon. Again, I highly recommend getting your copy today. This best-selling book highlights some of the amazing accomplishments of women from around the world in business and community service. Now, if you are a successful woman, you will want to order that copy today. So don't hesitate. Go on Amazon and get Volume 2. And March 2nd, the 100 Successful Women in Business, along with the Global Trade Chamber, is going to be producing one of the biggest shows for women around the world. It's going to be held at the DoubleTree in Miami, and this is in honor of Women's International Month. This is one event you do not want to miss. Like I said, women from around the world, an excellent way to promote your business, your company, and make great contacts. So if you want to know more about this show and how to sign up, because it is a free event, go to their website at www.100swb.com for all the information. And please sign up today. This is going to be another sellout event. And this year, we're going to be going pretty much around the globe. We'll be in India. We'll be in the Philippines. We're even thinking of going to Las Vegas, Chicago, Philadelphia. Please join us, because I can tell you straight out, I was in England last year with 100 Successful Women in Business. I made excellent contacts, and this is a great way to elevate your business. So again, go to the website, www.100swb.com, and look at all the information. And like I said, if you're a successful woman in business, these are shows you do not want to miss. And now, ladies and gentlemen, as always, we are going to go on to our show. And as I said, I have a fabulous guest today. And just to give you some idea of what she's about, and then we'll get on to the interview. She grew up on a ranch in the sport of rodeo. She was Miss Rodeo Florida, state champion breakaway roper, and Florida Ranch Rodeo State Champion, and many, many more. Second in the world in women's archery, the Hunter Division, spearfishing champion, free diver, scuba diver, a golfer. She also was a domestic violence survivor. That's something her and I have in common. And a mountain biker. She said she's healing recently from a bad crash. And what really impressed me is she's the 2023 Miss Fashion Global winner for the 40 and over division. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an amazing woman. I can just tell you by some of the bullet points that she's given me. So without further ado, please welcome Dallas Roberts to Make Our World Your Runway.
Thank you, Angela, for having me. And thank you for having all of the women that you have on your show, for women empowerment, and for allowing us to have a voice. I do appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Women have to have a voice today. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm going to say something. I don't think I want to mess with you. You could shoot a bow and arrow. You've been in the rodeo. You know, I have an uncle. I have an uncle that was a cop, became a detective, and they taught me how to shoot a gun. Okay. I don't think I'd want to mess with you. So I hope I'm always on your good side. Because
I feel that every woman should go through the training of understanding of what a gun represents and what it is used for. Growing up on a ranch, Daddy made me tough and Mama raised a lady. So I got the best of both worlds there.
Yeah, you know what? I could say the same thing. I'm a tough cookie.
That's right.
I worked in New York City for years. I had to learn how to defend myself, even though, believe it or not, back in the day in New York City, back in the 1990s, it was a whole different ball game. I would ride the subway sometimes at 10 o'clock at night, and I say no one, but no one would bother me. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I decided to take some self-defense classes because you just never knew. So I always knew how to defend myself, but that's one thing I could say. Mom raised a lady, but at the same time, I'm like you, I'm on the other side. You know, I won't hesitate to come in after somebody. So.
That's right. You know, we don't want to have to use it for that. I'm lucky enough to grow up on a ranch where I know what that is for, where my food comes from, the fact that I can harvest my own food, that I can protect the cattle against coyotes or scavengers, but at the same time, knowing that I'm fully capable of being able to protect myself, my family, and those that are around me. And so that, I think, that is something that every woman should get to do, is learn how to protect herself in whatever way that is. If she's not comfortable with a gun, then go take some courses on some hand-to-hand combat or other ways to get around things. Just be aware that there are outlets that you as a woman can protect yourself.
Exactly. And you know, it's so funny you should say that, because a couple of years ago, I had a bad fall and I had to get my left hip replaced. And most people look at me and say, you had a hip replacement? I have to admit, I had a fabulous surgeon. Okay. I could get up and walk and still dance and take my exercise classes. You never know it. But a few weeks ago, a woman accidentally bumped into me on my left side. She just stunned, and she said, oh my God. I said, well, you bumped into my left hip, which happens to be a steel hip. So that's my defense now. If I want to fight somebody, just turn my body to the left, bump into me, and you're going to be black and blue for about a week. So my husband and I laugh at that all the time. So I said, well, I have another defense mechanism. And he said, you know, you should remake the $6 Million Woman. He said, because that's what you are. I said, if it works, why not? That's so, but you really do have an impressive background. And I'm so proud of you for winning Miss Fashion Global, okay, for 40 and over. First of all, that's amazing. Okay. You're in fabulous shape.
It's a very personal thing for me. And it was a journey. And I'd love to be able to share with you why I even got involved in the first place.
Go ahead, because this is an interesting story.
Right. So as you know, I'm a survivor of domestic violence. I walked away a year and a half ago when I put him in jail. I left with absolutely nothing. And I went to live in a hotel, Airbnb, whatever I could do, because I was too proud to go home. So I managed to fight through it. And so on my journey of building my confidence back, changing careers, stepping into life again, and actually like feeling myself again, because I was suppressed for so long. I went to Colorado on a journey. Add to all of what I just went through, I lost my dog in July, and 10 days after I lost my dog, who is my service animal, I lost my father. So I was battling all kinds of grief in dealing with the grief from, narcissistic and abusive behavior, all the way to grief to emotional of love. So I went to Colorado to a friend of mine's ranch, Pat Pirelli, an amazing horse trainer, clinician. Actually, he's a trainer of trainers and people. He's even done some training with the Queen's horses. So we're talking top level. So he said, hey, I know what you need. We rodeoed in our days, so we had a lot of commonalities and ground. So he gets the way I'm wired. So he says, come on out to Colorado. I think it'll do you some good. So I jumped on a plane and I went out there and I spent a week horseback. Mind you, I've been retired from the horse business for about 5 years. And the day after Daddy died, I said, I want to get back on a horse, because that was grounding to me. So when I was in Colorado, I rode every single day. I rode cutting horses, worked cattle, and I just felt like, okay, I'm at peace, and I'm starting my process of healing. And I met a young lady by the name of 𝐏𝐚𝐠𝐞𝐬. He goes, you need to talk to her. She was in his program at the ranch, and I said, okay. She's wanting to model a little bit, and she's starting to get into it. Well, in chit-chatting with her, this 19-year-old beautiful Asian girl who has never left home, she says, I'm going to do this Miss Fashion Global thing. I said, oh yeah, tell me about it. So we started talking, and she goes, why don't you come do it too? And I said, you know what? I think I will. She gave me inspiration and encouragement. It was part of like, you know what? I need to do this. This is for me. Right. This is another step in the right direction. Surrounding yourself with women that love you and build you up. So here we go. We go off to Miss Fashion Global. We prepare together, and we go and do the event, support each other the whole time. Mind you, I had a broken arm and a torn rotator cuff in October. And so that event wasn't shortly after that. So I walked the stage in 40-pound wings and had to have help getting dressed. You name it. I couldn't even put on my own clothing. And we mustered through it. And I was standing there at the end with we was down to the universe title. And here I am, the 40 and over, and I'm standing with the runway competition young lady who she might have been 20. I don't know her age because they didn't tell all of our demographics on everything. Right. But standing there at the very end, knowing that thousands of people had went and applied, and then it was down to 300. And then I'm standing at the last two. And all I could say is I'm humbled. I'm blessed just to be here, because that alone made me feel like, wow, I'm powerful. I can do this. I have a voice. I can get up here with courage. And if I can do this, if I can step on this stage again, which had been years since I did, I can do anything. This domestic violence means nothing. This grief, we're going to get through it. We're going to work through it. So it gave me a platform to do so. And so that's how I became Miss Fashion Global. It was literally a project of love, and it was a project of community that got me there. And I am very, very grateful.
Yeah, no, I mean, you did a spectacular job. The costume was beautiful. Just looking, at your walk and just looking the way you carried yourself. No, that was absolutely amazing. And, because you probably know I own Miss International World and Miss Latina International, and we have women from around the world that come in and participate. And it's unbelievable, some of the stories that I hear, but they get on that stage. And I had one girl this year that she was determined to get to our pageant. And she also had a great story. She could not get the visa in time. She was from India. She couldn't get the visa in time. So what she did was, and she actually paid extra money for this, she went to Vietnam to get her visa. And she got it. And then came into the pageant. And this was unbelievable. Like I said, some of the stories just absolutely amaze me. And we've had a lot of women. Yeah, we've had a lot of women because we have a classic division, which is 31 and over. And just to hear some of the stories of these more mature women, it's unbelievable. Okay. And they get there, and that determination puts them over the top. Before you know it, they're winning the title. So I'm very proud of women that are that age and 40 and over. I mean, if you go online and you look at Miss Senior America, this is for women, I believe 62 and over. You will not believe some of the women that win that title. I mean, they just had
It's phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. They just had their big pageant this past September in Las Vegas. And the woman that won was like 82 years old. And I'm looking at her, I said, well, there's hope. I mean, she didn't look a day past 60.
That's right.
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, they'll get up there with crutches just to get that title.
So I want to add a little side note to this. So I grew up tough, ranch, working with men, competing with men my entire life. And then I was isolated for a long time, 2 years in that relationship of the domestic violence. Now in that, I lost touch with a lot. I've never connected with groups of ladies and women before, because be it in business, be it in the social circles, I come from a very Southern town that is still the good old boys club, love it. But when it comes to women, sometimes they can be a little negative, a little catty, divisive, stuff that I'm not attracted to. So I've had them tear me down versus build me up. So this was a challenge for me because I had never had that and I was seeking it. And I didn't know if it was possible. So a lot of people are misconstrued, or there's a misconception that, when you get to these events, that it's catty, that it's all about being beautiful and winning a crown. But honestly, the Miss Fashion Global, it was nothing but empowerment while you were there. We prayed together. We did affirmations together. We meditated. We did so much together, and we helped each other. No matter what you needed, you had it because one of your sisters had it. For me, that was an experience all in itself because, like I said, I'm the tomboy that never had access to that. And when I did, it was very negative in business and the community. So this literally opened my eyes. It opened my heart and broadened my horizon on the pageant world. And I wouldn't even say this was a pageant because it was runway and modeling more so than necessarily pageant. And we know they're similar, but there's differences. So I have learned to appreciate it even more than ever before. So I encourage it. I encourage women to get involved.
Yes, and you're right. Because there's I'm glad you mentioned that. Put that side note in, because there's so many women out there that are very, very, very misconstrued about the world of pageantry. They think women just go out on a stage and they parade in bathing suits and evening gowns and that's it. But they do not realize, and that's changing now, that a lot of women that get into this, first of all, a lot of them go in for the first time to gain self-confidence. A lot of them go in to get recognition. I always make the story about, look at Gal Gadot, who became Wonder Woman. She was in Miss Universe, all right? She represented Israel. She only made the top 15. But look at where she's gone for a girl. Now, she was not the winner of Miss Universe, but by being in that competition and making the top 15, she's now Wonder Woman. She just did that movie, Death on the Nile. So they don't realize where pageantry can actually take them. Okay.
That's right.
And I've had a lot of my girls that went on to become doctors, lawyers, who started their own businesses, become an entrepreneur. I have one of my ladies that became a congresswoman that's now in Washington. So these women are they're unbelievable. And you're right, and it is all about women's empowerment because that's a big thing today is women's empowerment. And you probably heard what I was talking about, which is something I'm going to send you the website, 100 Successful Women in Business. You have an amazing story, okay? I could see you as being one of the most 100 successful women, okay, in business because you have an amazing story. I was in volume 1. I was in England this past August when volume 2 came out, and they called it From Scratch to Success. There were women literally living in their cars that became millionaires in a year to 2 years. These stories are amazing. And I definitely check out the website. We're having a big event in Miami on March the 2nd. I encourage women to attend. Okay. I'm going to have a table there. I'll probably be speaking at the event. We have women flying in from around the world that will be speaking. And, with my pageant, I'm an open book. And I tell this to every girl in any pageant. You want to join us? We are the Sisterhood of Pageant. I don't care if somebody's, whatever pageant you have, what title you're holding, what crown, my door is always open, okay? If my organization can do something for you, we have no problem with that, okay? So my girls take pictures with girls from other pageants, and I encourage that. I say, hey, because look, when you leave us, if you want to go compete in another pageant, fine. If a girl from another pageant wants to compete in ours, I have no problem with that. I feel we are a sisterhood, and that's the way it should be.
I'm going to quote my friend Melissa Wagi. She has a networking event, Miami's largest networking event, and it's called Epic Talks. And her tagline, and it's a motto to live by, is you're only one connection away from a changed life. So in networking and bringing all these different pageantries together, you're networking. Right. This isn't about just the pageantry. This is about business and life and your journey and your growth and your mindset. So really, it truly is a connection, and you can grow in every area of your life from it. So send that link to me. I would love to be able to go ahead and schedule that into my calendar. Miami.
I'll send you the link and I'll send you the flyer. It's absolutely amazing. Maria Davila, who's the CEO of, and you'll read about her when you go on there. She's the CEO for 100 Successful Women in Business. She is amazing. She actually is the one who became the executive producer, along with our great Ron here, for Make Our World Your Runway. She's the one that came up with this idea of me doing a show. And then my husband came up with the name, Make Our World Your Runway. She's great. I mean, Maria was a former model herself. And she has a lot of ideas for women. And she came up with this 100 Successful Women in Business and the idea of a book. She also has her own program called Success Stories. So there's a number of ways that you can get involved, okay? But if you can make it to that show, like I said, I'm going to be there. I will have a table. I'm going to speak. And, you know, a lot of my girls will be there. So I have no problem in bringing all of you women together, because that's exactly what it's about, okay?
I would
As you
love
said,
that.
yeah, networking, business, yeah, you name it. And it's so funny because, you know, I came out of a domestic violence relationship in my first marriage. And, you know, I'm from the old Italian families. And if you know anything about that, they're like, well, you know, you're supposed to stay in a marriage regardless of what, and try to make it work. And I did. You know, after a while, I found out that I was no place. I was going nowhere. And I had to
Mhm.
get out of that. And I left, and I went through some hard times. But you know what? It was probably the best thing I ever did, because
Mhm.
now I realized that I had the strength to walk away from something and stand up on my own 2 feet and go forward.
That's right. You
So
realize how much power you truly had in doing that and overcoming.
exactly. And I overcame that challenge. And I always say, if I was married, my second husband, who I've been married to for 30 years, I always say, if I'd been married to him first, I would have been way ahead of the game. And the reason being is that he was a former model, okay, and he's worked for two major telecommunications companies in New York City. But he knew the business, he knew the industry, and he knew what it takes and the hard work to progress in that industry. I mean, I was proud of him because when you went into New York City, okay, you had the Holland Tunnel and the Lincoln Tunnel, and there's always billboards. And one day I'm
Mhm.
going through the Holland Tunnel, and I see him on this billboard, and it says, "If Al Posillico can buy his suits at Mern, so could you." He was on a billboard, okay, going into New York City, and he came out of Ford Modeling Agency, which was one of the biggest agencies in New York. So he knew what it would take, and he always said, if you are married to someone that's in that industry, you cannot be jealous.
Mm-mm.
You've got to stay. Yeah, he said, you've got to support them. When my
Mhm.
ex-husband just couldn't understand that business, okay, where my husband Al, he knows, he's a big part of what I do today. Okay, he does the website, he does my flyers. I mean, a lot of my videos he does. So see, we have a mutual understanding.
We
Okay,
do.
and I said,
I've encountered that. Now, I've never been married and I don't have children, but I have dated, and many instances actually, it comes up all of the time. So there's situations. I have been a business development specialist, and I was in the architectural specialties. Then I went into mechanical, and now I'm in technology and communications. Completely jump verticals each time, and I've excelled in them. However, in that, a lot of my customers and my clients who become my friends are men. So
yes, yes,
my business deals are made on the golf course or taking them out on
exactly.
swimming, on fishing. So in building those relationships is how I do my business, because
Right,
it's in the relationships business. I'm not in sales. I don't want to sell you anything. I want to have a
right.
friendship with you, and if I have a solution for you, then great. If not, I'm going to connect you to who has a solution. So I've run into that so often that the men just can't step up and be secure in who they are, because I'm
Exactly.
secure in who I am. I'm faithful, I'm loyal, I'm loving, and I'm never going to stray. However, there's a lot of men, especially in the South, that can't handle that concept of a woman out there that's strong, that's professional, that's a
Yes.
high-end executive, and that touches people in business at all levels. So currently, my role is on the national level, and I'm a key accounts manager. So I'm handling large accounts like Goldman Sachs, Wells Fargo, so the bigger organizations. And in doing that, I have to have somebody that is confident, that is strong, and that understands the industry, right? And that is
That's
secure in who they are. Because it's not about me. It's not about what I'm doing or not doing. It's about individuals. So I can relate to you on that. I really can. And it does get frustrating because, it's hard to find a man that has the level of strength that I do mentally to get
Yes.
there. So I'm still searching for that person, but I am not in a hurry at all.
No, and you're 100% correct. And you mentioned a couple of great things there. First of all, you're right. The men in the South, I don't know what it is. They have a hard time handling women that are in business. Now, the Northeast,
I am so drawn to that Southern gentleman because I love the manners and I love the
yes,
etiquette. But on the other flip side of it, I'm not the debutante that you're going to sit on a pedestal and that's not going to go out and do anything.
exactly.
I have fire in my belly. So we have to level up here.
I love it. See, in the Northeast, we didn't have that problem because when you work in New York City and it's a hustle and a bustle, okay, you're working right alongside of men. And there was a lot of men in New York City that, the women were in power. I mean, I ran Lancome for one time. I was their trainer. So once I left the counters and I wasn't in the stores anymore, I was up on 575 Fifth Avenue, which was their corporate office. And when people used to come in, I used to say, what side do you want to sit on? Do you want to view the East River or do you want to view the Hudson River? And I was around a lot of men and I used to go toe to toe with them, but they respected me because, again, that was the Northeast. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they were so used to working with men and women. Now, you mentioned Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs was one of my husband's biggest clients. Okay. That Deloitte and Touche. Yeah, they were some of his biggest clients when he worked for MCI and when he worked for Cable and Wireless. So, and I'm trying to think if it was, and it wasn't Deloitte, and it wasn't Deloitte and Touche. It was one of the other. Oh, no, I think it was Deloitte and Touche. One of the big. That was a financial company. There was a woman there by the name of Edith Arnst. That's who he used to have to go to make all the negotiations. So you see, you're right about that. And in the Northeast, a lot of women were in power. So a man sometimes had to go to a woman that was in power to get a meeting or to get to the next level or make a negotiation. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So so you're 100% correct on that. Yeah, the Southern charm is fantastic. I will tell you that. The mannerism, things like that. But they still can't fathom women being in business, being tough, being in business, and trying to get ahead of them. Okay. But if you're in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, or Connecticut, which they call the tri-state area, you don't have that problem. Okay. In fact, if you go up there today, there's more women in power sitting in those positions than there are men. Okay. But you know what? It's slowly changing. I'm starting to see it in the South. It is slowly changing. Okay. Look at women in politics. Whether you like what they represent, but there's a lot of women in politics today. Women becoming governors, women becoming senators. I mean, for a long time, we had a woman that was a Speaker of the House. There you go. Okay. So, yeah, I believe in women's empowerment. Not saying that you don't need a man. I always, they always say behind every man is a successful woman. Well, it can work vice versa too. Okay.
Exactly.
You just got to find the right combination. Okay. And
So,
I like what
speaking of what you just said, actually, have you kind of thumbed through the Napoleon Hill book, Think Big Grow Rich? There's actually in that book, in that study, it talks about the fact that all of these men that they studied in history that were the most successful men in the world, the creators, the inventors, the leaders, the world, dominators, they literally were inspired by the women in their life. Now, they don't say it outwardly, but they studied this. And it was because of things like sex transmutation and all of the energy and having somebody stand behind you. There's a lot in that book. But it is very powerful that they get a lot of their inspiration and their ideas stem from their energy that flows from the woman that's in their life.
Right. Exactly. And if you listen to most of the presidents of the United States, they will tell you a lot of times they would consult their wife at the end of the day and say, what did you think? They were inspired. Okay. Ronald Reagan always said it was his wife, Nancy, that inspired him to do a lot of things. Okay. President Kennedy, Jackie Kennedy, was very much into fashion and things. She actually changed the White House to the way it should look. If you ever read his book, Profiles in Courage, he did say that in the evening, he'd go to his wife and talk to her and say, what's your opinion? What do you think I should do? Napoleon was that way. Julius Caesar was even inspired by two women. Okay. So you're right. There are a lot of men, successful men, that have been inspired by their wives, or even if they had somebody that they admired that was in business. You're right about that.
And you can
So
take it a step further outside of the men-woman relationship. Your network is your net worth. Who you surround yourself with, who you connect with, who inspires you and motivates you around you. Make sure your circle is solid.
yes, that I agree with. And you said something about relationships. That's my husband's cardinal rule. He said, I don't care if you're in sales or what you're doing. You have to build relationships with people. That's building the trust. You don't have that. He said, you're not going to do anything. He said, I don't care what business you're in. Okay.
That's right.
And yeah, and he always taught me that. He said, Angela, get a good rapport with people. Stand your ground, but just get a good rapport. He said, because if you don't build that relationship, they're going to come back to you. They're going to believe in what you're doing. It's not going to happen. So,
That's right.
Yeah, that's one thing that I've learned with him. And that's what I've done throughout the years. I've always built a relationship. And I mean, I've got girls that were in our titles 5 and 6 years ago that are now saying to me, how can I get back? What can I do? Because I realized once that banner was off and they passed the crown to someone else and they weren't as active, things weren't coming to them as steadily or as readily as it was. So, and I'm very proud of that, you know, if a lot of them want to come back and get involved or be consultants or things like that, that shows that, hey, you know, they got something out of the organization.
Absolutely.
And I even tell them, I say, look, if you become famous, I said, you know, I don't need you to send me a check or this and that. Just write me a note and say, hey, you know, I'm here. This is where I've gone. This is what I'm doing. And thank you for opening that door. And another thing I always tell women that come into our organization, you know, and I learned this from the Mrs. Globe organization because I used to work with them. And Tracy Kemble, who runs that organization, is amazing. You want to talk about somebody who's heavy into women's empowerment, is her. Look her up and just look at her story. She has an organization called The Win, W-I-N.
Okay.
And that organization, okay, all the fundraisers they do goes to help domestic violence victims. Tracy also was in that relationship. Yeah. And she has actually built homes and shelters for a lot of these women. Okay. And when I got involved with her, and when she heard that I could sing, okay, because I was opera trained, I always opened up her Globe Awards. And I tell people, that woman did more for my career than the William Morris Agency in New York ever did. When I was under, when I was under her organization, she opened doors for me that you can't imagine. I was literally singing around the world. I sang in Greece. I went to Hong Kong. People heard about me. I went to all parts of the world to sing. I was even in Phantom of the Opera. I sang in that. I was an understudy, okay, for the play in New York. So pageantry does open doors. And I tell a lot of the women that come to me, look, I could give you a big prize package, but you know what? That's going to go by the wayside. What I'm going to do for you is I'm going to give you an opportunity. I'm going to open a door. It's up to you to go through that door and take the next steps. But, you know, I said I could give you a $50,000 prize package, but once it's gone, it's gone. Okay. But I'm going to give you something better. I'm going to give you an opportunity to walk through a door, give you some of the experience that I've had, make your path a little easier, which is going to last you a lifetime or however long you want to take it. So that's basically, in fact, we have it right on our website. We say we are more than a pageant, more than beauty. We are a way of life for all women because we empower through a crown. That's our motto.
And it's also giving back and through this journey. So I'm getting to give back very, very personally. So Kiera, the girl I mentioned, of the whole reason I got back into this, she had never left her small town of 2,000 people in Colorado. Wow. So now she is in Florida, living under my roof. I drag her everywhere. So I'm getting to mentor a very young 19-year-old to make, you know, I'm letting her make those mistakes, but I'm also there for guidance. And I'm also taking her everywhere I go so she has opportunity, because a lot of people don't have that access, right? So you're in my life. I want to coach you. I want you to have that access, and I'm going to drag you everywhere. And I'm going to give you this little tidbits and the seeds that maybe I've already experienced this a lot because I've made mistakes in my life. And I'm just like, I'm going to plant them in front of you. And here's the mistake I made and which way it could go. You choose. So it's all about giving back. So you're doing that with all of these women, and it's beautiful. So I'm getting to start my process of truly, truly giving back right here in house. And it's because of this Miss Fashion Global. And so
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Thank you, Melissa. But it's very, very real. This relationship and building personal growth, it's not just pageantry. I wouldn't be able to speak the way I can. I wouldn't have won national speaking competitions as Miss Rodeo Florida. I wouldn't have been able to sit in interviews and nail the job interviews that I had to where I was interviewing them and I negotiated my contract my way, but I had not sat and learned how to do interviews as a child.
No, it's you've got a great pageant there. They have a great platform. And you know, it's funny you should say that because Dawn Foley, who was Mrs. US Globe going back in 1997, she brought up a very good point. She said she had gone on a job interview, okay, and she didn't get the job. She went back to that same company after she won, okay, Mrs. US Globe, and they saw that on her resume. They hired her. You know why they hired her? Because they felt that she took the next step. It was like a functional resume. And they felt that she did the next step to do something. And they felt that that was a platform. And that's exactly what this is. Okay. Anybody that's in pageantry is automatically, you got a platform because you're going to go out and speak on women's issues, or you're going to speak about something that you like. And in fact, the woman that's holding our Miss International World title right now, she just did something that was spectacular. She worked with these group of young girls that were either homeless or their parents gave them up. And unfortunately, the facility didn't get any funding and it closed up. She was able to foster one of the ladies who's now going on to college.
That is
that was amazing. Yeah, that was amazing. And right now she's staying with her. In fact, we brought her to the fashion show that we did a couple of weeks ago. So these are all the great things that women in pageantry do. Okay.
I actually want to bring us good on business before we keep going. I want to just stop for just a second. So I'm new at the company that I'm with now. I'm into my second week. Next week, we'll be going into the third week. And through that process in the interview, in the very last interview, it was a 2-month process of 8 interviews. And at the very end, they're like, what would stop you from coming on our team? Oh. And my answer is as authentic as it could get. I said, if I couldn't be myself and represent this title and to be able to go and speak and be a part of whether it's the runways, the fashion weeks around the globe, whether it's special events to where I'm going in and participating and helping, whatever that looks like. If I don't get to do those things, if I don't have time where I can have a work-life balance, then I'm out, because this adds value to your business. Me coming in with a platform where I can touch people and I'm out there, this is beneficial to you because it's a speaking statement. When I get on a Zoom call, they see something behind me and it's recognizable from a pageant. I've had the wings behind me before. It was a speaking topic and all, they questions, and then all of a sudden things start coming up. So it is very much so something that I was not willing to negotiate on, and they didn't even bat an eye. And that in business, that company that I'm with, I love them. They see that and they know that because it's powerful. So absolutely, I 100%, I support that. When you go into an interview and you have a title, don't give up your title or time. Negotiate that, because it's powerful and they're going to want it, because that is something that they can play off of too. And if you're in sales like I am, it just adds value to your toolbox of what you can speak on.
And it does. In fact, one of my girls just did something like that. Susmita Patel, who's now our pageant and model coordinator. She took a job, and it's a job where they do campaigns for charitable organizations. All right. And they raise money for companies that want to get involved with certain charities. And what they liked about her was the fact that she's the pageant and model coordinator, but she did hold 2 titles in our organization. And they felt that she had something to talk about because she had a platform. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that she could, she could lift spirits up, especially when you're talking to make a wish foundation. Okay. In fact, we've worked with them where we've actually taken a young girl and made her a queen for the day. And, Susmita had worked with me on that. So they liked that she could do something like that. And
Yes.
you're right about that. I tell all the girls, if you're going to go for a job, I said, don't be afraid to put on your resume, you're Miss International World, or you're Miss Latina International, or you're Miss International World Petite. And speaking of Miss International World Petite, our former girl last year, Britt Olfanowski, just started a cosmetic company that is, when I say taking off like a storm, it's absolutely amazing. Her cosmetics, I mean, I've tried them. They are up there with the Lancomes, the Lauders, and the Sephoras of the world. That's how good they are. Okay. I happen to have her lipstick on. It stays on all day. Okay.
It's beautiful. I love how vibrant it is.
Exactly. It's fine. Well, when I tell people, you can tell I was in the cosmetic industry because, that's what I did for almost 30 years. But I'm very proud of her that she took the next step and started her own company. Okay. And this was a girl, this is funny. Almost 6 years ago, she came to an interview to come into the pageant. And she was going through bad times and she didn't make it. And all of a sudden, 2 years ago, she came back, altogether different girl, because now she realized that she had to get involved with something like this to progress and to get a platform. Now here she is today. I mean, she's raising her son. I mean, she's a single mom. Her son is absolutely stunning. Okay, I tell her every day, I said, this kid's going to be a lady killer. And now she's got her own cosmetic company. And she also took a step back at work. She's working for a nonprofit group because she said, I wanted to get out and help people. So she's got a great story. So
Wonderful.
you're right. And they took her also because of the fact she was Miss International World Petite. All right. And that's a platform that we started because I had so many women come to me to say, I can't get into a pageant or I can't model. I said, why? Well, I'm only 5'4", I'm 5'3". So I said, you know what? That opens up the door. So we started the petite division, and that's become very successful for us because now women can come in. We have 5'2" to 5'4" or 5'5", and now these women can come into this. They have a platform. They're all beautiful, or they may just not be 5'6" or 5'7". Okay, and also to give other women a chance, we started
right.
the supermodel. We started the supermodel division where that's 5'7" and over. And I make that division with women that strictly want to model. Okay. If that's all you want to do, well, we got the platform for that. So now these women come in and they feel, oh, I have a voice. I can get into that division, this division, and I could still become successful. So
That's
what you've
right.
said makes a whole lot of sense. It's absolutely
Yes.
perfect. Yeah. I mean, you've done quite a bit. I'm gonna throw something at you, okay?
Okay.
Uh,
Give it to me.
and this is not to get political, okay?
Okay.
2 years ago, okay, I was nominated and I received a presidential award from President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. And my name is, believe it or not, is in the Library of Congress, and they say it stays there for life. Now, that's not an award that's political because President Bush had started it many, many years ago. It has nothing to do with anything political. It has to do with people in business and community service that have had an excellent background or have had struggles in their life and made it. So I work with the organization that does the nominations. And when I don't, and I say this sincerely, and I don't take it very lightly, but when I find people that I think fit the nomination, I will go ahead and submit a name. That's not always guaranteed because it has to go through a process. Believe me, I didn't think I'd get it. I'm saying, yeah, me, right? Okay. Up there with an astronaut and this person and that person. But I did because they felt it was empowerment of women. And you have a story and a credential that warrants that nomination. Okay. You do. I have to get on the phone today with my person that handles that. And a few weeks ago, I put another name in. I'm actually going to submit your name because I think we're going to have another round. We're going to have several rounds. I know we're doing something in Atlanta, Georgia this summer, but we'll have another round in October and maybe even sooner. And you'll probably see a person by the name of D. Thompson follow you, but I will let her know. And normally she will take my recommendation, and I will let her know that I think that
Angela,
what you
I am
want,
grateful. I am
what
absolutely grateful for that nomination that you're willing to put in. I literally am an open book, and I have a story. I've had a hard life, but a good life, an
yes,
absolutely amazing life. But it's
yes,
been through trial and error, and I just want my life to be a purpose to help others. So if I can
yeah,
be a light, if my life can just be fully exposed out there and those that need me come, I'm here. And that's what I want my life to be. So everything I've been through, good and bad, I am grateful for. I'm humbled. And so thank you for that.
yeah. When Julie told me, she said, I have another great team. Julie's amazing. I love Julie. Okay. I always tell her, Julie, I'm going to come jump through the phone and hug you and kiss you. Yeah, she really is. But I don't submit. I mean, there's a lot of people that come to me and say, hey, I know you got this award. Can I be submitted? And blah. And I don't submit everybody. Okay. Because again, I know the criteria that they're looking for. And like I said, I was shocked when my name was submitted and they said, you got the award. I'm like, wait a minute, but you're really inspiring and empowering women. Okay. And you really have a story to tell. And once you get that award, you'd be surprised the doors it opens up. I used it in the hospital to get a suite. I don't know, but I did. I used it when I was in the hospital in March. But your name goes in the Library of Congress. It's edged there for your entire life.
Hey,
In fact, I got to take a trip to Washington to see that. Um, and it's a door opener. Okay. It's nothing political. Believe me, you don't have to belong to any political party or anything like that. It's just awards that's recognized. Okay. And every president since President Papa Bush, right straight through now to President Biden, has had this and recognized people. I mean, I've had people under both President Bushes that, were nominated for that and got the award. So again, it's just being recognized for the amazing things that you do. Okay. And as I said, I don't, there's a lot of people that come to me. I don't refer a lot of names, but listening to you, okay, and listen to what you've gone through and the things that you're willing to do. Oh yeah, you definitely. That's something
if
you
only
definitely.
my daddy could be here in this conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I mean, that's what I say. That's now you know what I'm about. Now you know what my organization about. If we can open that door, I don't care what pageant someone's from. If they're from Miss Universe pageant you're from. We open doors, okay. And like I said, we are a sisterhood.
Yes.
I don't turn my back on anybody, okay. And if I feel that I can do something for someone, okay, and they're not even part of my organization, but they're another pageant, I will do it. Okay.
I just want to hug your neck right now. I want to come to the screen and I want to give you a hug.
You can do that. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. No, you're amazing. And I am going to send you that link for 100 Successful Women in Business. Look it up. If you can get here on March the 2nd, I think you'd be fabulous. I think you should actually speak. I'm going to work on something like that. I'm going to talk to Maria about that. I think you should, because you have a story to tell. And you tell this story to women, you'd be surprised how they're going to gravitate to you. And it's a platform, okay, and it's a way to get the word out. But with all the great things that you've done, and now you have this great job, what plans do you have for the future? Is there anything, not basically where you see yourself, but what would you like to do in the future? Let's put it that way.
I want to travel. I want to go on every adventure you could possibly go to. I want to spearfish and free dive in every ocean imaginable.
That's great.
You name it, I want to do it. When my dad passed away in July, it opened up my eyes. And I've always lived big. My daddy lived really, really big. And he took me around doing all of these things. And I had this epiphany where I woke up the following day and horses were not completely out of my life. I want to be grounded. But in that grounding, I realized that living big was a part of who I am and who he made me to be. So my future, whatever that looks like, I want to be able to give back. But I also personally, I want to live so large and not miss an adventure because I'm an adrenaline junkie. But there's one thing that I really want to do, and I'm going to do it it was July. So I'd like to do it the following July coming up.
Right.
My dad was a pilot, just private. I flew with him, all of his friends. I fly a lot with friends now and taken some lessons. But all of a sudden, I got this grand idea, and this is how far I go with my adrenaline and high-risk situations. If it's not high risk, even if it's calculated or uncalculated, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm high-risk taker.
Yeah.
So I Googled wing walking. And there is one company in the United States that offers wing walking, and it's, I believe, in Wisconsin or Michigan. I've got to look it up again. It's slipped my mind. But basically, you climb out of on a biplane, out of your front seat, all the way up to the top of the wing, strap yourself in, and you get to go do aerobatics with the flying in the back. So this is kind of like how I'm wired. So my future looks like nothing but an adventure, and I'm manifesting that, and that's how I'm going to live, because that's how my dad had taught me to live, and I'm no longer going to sit still and be stagnant.
And it's funny you should say that, because my dad never had any fear, and he was very ill, but still lived his life. But here's the funniest thing, and you should talk about July. Every year, July 4th, I go to Disney World, and I'm going to tell you why. In 2007, I was on my way to Disney World. And most people don't believe this because I've always kept my weight down. I never smoked. I never drank. Always worked out. But my whole family suffered heart disease, and I got caught in the middle of that. And I suffered a massive heart attack on my way up to Disney World. Now, luckily for me, I was at mile marker 131, and Palm Beach Gardens Heart Hospital was right there. Okay. So I was lucky. They got to me in time. So every year on 4th of July, I make that trip up to Disney World, but I take what they call the heart challenge. And my husband gets a nervous wreck. I'll take a roller coaster with a 90-foot drop.
Yes.
And I do that just to see, okay, if that heart of mine is still going.
Yes.
Now, he'll turn green, and I'm coming off there like, what's the matter with you? Oh, that was a big drop. Now, he just had open heart surgery, okay? And he's been fine since, because the technology they do today with the heart is unbelievable. It really is. But previous to that, he'd be turning green, and I'd be coming off saying, what's the matter with you? I said, I'm the one that got the stents, and I'm still breathing. And he just looks at me and goes, you're nuts. I said, no, I'm not nuts. I said, but I'm doing this. And one year, my doctor had a heart monitor on me. And when he saw that, because you're going fast and the heart was going a little fast, he said, what did you just do? I said, well, I just took a roller coaster with a 90-foot drop. He said, you're kidding. I said, no. He said, you're still breathing normal. I said, yeah. I said, that's true. I said, I'm still breathing normal. I said, you should know me. Nothing stops me. I said, okay. I said, nothing. As long as I'm in perfect shape, I'm going to keep going. And I told somebody the other day, they said, well, what about, when you're not here anymore? I said, don't laugh. I said, my spirit will be here, and wherever I'm going to be tap dancing out that door. So that's it. Okay. I don't quit. Okay. I listen to that song by Queen, Freddie Mercury, and we'll keep on fighting till the end. That's it. Your last breath, that's all right. You keep on going. And I will also say this to you. I know you have a great title there. When you crown your next girl, you have an open door. If you want to come into Miss International World, our classic division, we would be honored for you to compete in our organization.
Thank you.
So anytime after you've crowned your next girl and you want to come to us, you have an open door. We have a lot of sponsorship opportunities that we do for our girls, that they can cover their entry fees. So you've got an open book. But anyway, my dear, It was such a pleasure, and I mean a tremendous pleasure to have you on the show. This is not going to be the end. I will keep my promise about submitting your name. I will send you a link to 100 Successful Women in Business. I hope to see you March the 2nd in Miami. I would love for you to be there and share your stories with us and to introduce you to Maria and a lot of the contacts that I have. You're amazing. Don't give up. And
never.
And whenever you want to come back to our show or you want to refer somebody to our show, you have an open book to be on Make Our World Your Runway. And anytime that I could do anything for you or my organization or you need something, don't hesitate because we're here. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're quite welcome. And you're beautiful. You're intelligent. I could see you being a very powerful woman in the years ahead. So I hope you're going to have a great weekend. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be on our show. And like I said, this won't be the last. We will see you again. So thank you so much.
Much love to you and to the world watching. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, as they say in India. All right. Have a great weekend and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye now. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Another fabulous guest on Make Our World Your Runway. She was absolutely amazing, Dallas Roberts. I mean, she's just spectacular. And as always, stay tuned. Remember to belong to the Global Trade Chamber YouTube channel so that you can view Make Our World Your Runway and success stories. So until next week, ladies and gentlemen, have a great evening, a great weekend. God bless you, and we'll see you soon.